Hi, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Unlocked. I'm your host, Tracy Wilson. My pleasure to be with you guys today. It is Friday morning here on the beautiful Gold Coast, and I thought this morning, right, what can I share with you guys today that has made, I suppose, a real impact on my life? Like, what are some of the things that I've done to achieve success in my life? And one of the things that I have used over a number of years is this method that I call the vision manifestation method. And the reason I wanted to share it with you guys is because often I get asked, oh my God, how do you do that? Like, how do you just kind of bring the things that you want into your life? They just kind of seem to show up. Like if there's a particular type of person that you're looking for, or you need you're looking for some new, a new project to work on, or you're wanting to do something a little, different. How do you actually make all of that happen? Because often I will voice what it is that I'm looking for with people, and then the next day that kind of shows up. So anyway, today I've thought I would dig deep and I would think about, like, how do I do that? Like, what is this vision manifestation method that I've been doing for a number of years? So I'm going to share with you, even back in my corporate days, whether I didn't really understand or know that this is what I was doing, but I actually was. When I reflect back, I was using this method of the vision manifestation method in everything that I was doing. And if you guys have been following me for some time, you'll know that in my previous life, prior to entrepreneurship, I used to run a very large region of a bank. So I was responsible for, loads and loads of branches, lots and lots of people. And often I would be asked to go into areas that were not performing very well. And my job was to try and was to improve the performance from a sales perspective, because in the banking industry at that time, and I'm talking 10 years ago, things have changed a little bit now, but was very, very sales oriented. And so I knew that when I went into these regions that I had to make improvements. And funnily enough, part of the process was that we would have to write a business plan. And at the time I used to think, boring, I've got to write a flaming business plan. I'll put, all of my thoughts, my ideas, as you do, like your vision, your mission, all of that sort of stuff into this business plan. And the bank used to give us a stock standard plan that you would need to run through. And one of the things that I used to do that was a little bit different to everybody else is I would start writing down, thinking about things from a future perspective. So what I mean by that is, if I got into a region, I would think about, well, what do I actually want this region to look like after I have done all the tasks or done all, in a year's time, what will this place look like? What will the culture of this, of my local area be? What will we have achieved? What accolades will we have got? What awards will I win? So on and so forth. And so I very much started thinking about bringing the future forward, like bringing that right forward into that moment of, I'm at this point now, things are not going very well, but what is it that I am going to bring into, manifest and bring into my vision? So I always would bring that forward. And funnily enough, I put all of that sort of stuff. I used to cut out pictures in magazines and put them into, into the business plan. And I would send it off, and people used to think, oh, this is a little bit, it's not your stock standard professional corporate business plan. But then they would be astounded, a few months later, when, oh my God, where did this woman come from? Why is it that the branches or that the regions that she's looking after used to be at the bottom of the barrel, and then all of a sudden they are starting to climb the ladder? Why is it that they are coming out of nowhere and starting to perform? That is what I started doing. And at the time, like I said, I didn't know that was even a thing, because I was in the corporate world. They didn't do that sort of stuff. It wasn't the norm. Everything inside of the corporate world was very corporate. You wrote things down. You wrote them in a very professional manner. You certainly didn't use pictures, and you certainly didn't, use dreaming to put any of that into your plan. You would write them in a very strategic way, which would have been called your vision and your mission. So anyway, that was one of the things that I started doing. And then when I had the opportunity to leave the corporate world and move into entrepreneurship, and I did this because whilst I was in the corporate space, I actually had the opportunity to start working with an Olympian. She came to me because I was one of the people inside of the banking organization that I was working for that was responsible for increasing women's markets. So my job was to help women in business improve their businesses and improve their business acumen. So anyhow, this Olympian had been given my name as the person that could give her an opportunity to speak to a bunch of what we call SME clients inside of the banking sector, small to medium-sized enterprise. And so anyway, I put on a number of events for this Olympian, and as she was talking about visualization, and she was telling us that in the Olympic, part of the Olympic team, one of the things that they did to improve their performance wasn't always to be doing things from a physical point of view. That wasn't about exerting energy on something. What they were required to do was spend some time, being quiet and actually visualizing what it was that they needed to do, how they would perform their particular tasks when they were at the Olympics. And also she told the story of how when she went to the Olympics, she had a really bad accident, and it took her out of the Olympic Games, which meant that she wasn't able to participate. And she said that one of the mentors that she had at the time was Sir Peter Brock, and I don't know if you guys know who he is, racing car driver, and he died some years ago. But he was one of the mentors that her sporting team had. And because she had this injury, Peter Brock said to her, right, what I want you to do is as many times as you can throughout the day, I want you to actually just close your eyes, and I want you to visualize these, he called them little critters, crawling down, inside of you, crawling down to your leg and actually stitching up all the fibers, stitching up all of the problems that you were having with this injury that she'd had, so that they can help you to get back to form, so that eventually you will be able to play potentially. Doctors had ruled it out. She wasn't going to be playing. It was not going to happen. And anyhow, she said she thought at the time, all right, well, I know that I've had to do this visualization stuff before, because that's what we've been taught to do. It helps us with our performance. It's proven to help us with our performance. So, maybe I'll just give it a go here. Maybe he's not, completely bonkers. He's a very astute, sporting person himself, and very got a lot of success himself. So I'll follow this. I'll do it. And so she'd use that form of visualization to actually start healing herself. She says, I visualized that there were these little critters that were, climb down my leg inside of me, and they were actually stitching me up and fixing all the fibers and all the areas of my body that needed to be fixed to enable me to get back on that court and actually play volleyball for Australia at the highest of levels. And she said that as she did that, thankfully, her using that technique meant that she was actually able to play at the Olympics, and she was able to complete her dream. Now, when I heard that, and I knew that I had been doing some of these techniques myself with like visualization and putting them into business plans, but not really kind of that deep. I didn't really understand at the time the real power of doing this. I just did it because, I thought by putting these pictures in a book or putting them into my business plan, it just helped me to visualize them more. I was certainly not thinking about them on any other level other than that, as to bringing them to my, bringing them to my forefront. And then after hearing her speak about that, I then had an opportunity to leave the banking world and start my own entrepreneurial journey. And I'm going to bring up something. This is a few years kind of down the track in my entrepreneurial journey, but I use that same technique, the vision manifestation method. And I saw this come up in my photographs on Facebook a few days ago, and I want to bring it up on the screen for those of you that are watching or listening, I should say, on the podcast right now. What I'm going to share is a image that I had created, which was a vision board that I'd put up back in 2016. And let me just pull it up right now, and I'll put it on the screen so that you guys can actually see it. You can't see it in great detail because I've kind of, made it a little bit blurry so that everybody can't see exactly what I had on there. But what was really interesting about this particular board was I had this vision. I repeated that same process. I knew that I needed to bring into my vision, into the forefront of my mind, exactly what it was that I wanted to achieve in my life. And it had all sorts of things from traveling the world, to the type of, a new car that I wanted to buy, to the type of person that I wanted to be helping in my business, etc., etc., etc. And I'd created this vision board, cut out some imagery out of magazines, created some images myself, put words on there. And the words that I created were ones that I was speaking into the future and bringing those words forward in terms of where I would be published, the fact that I'd write a book, all of these sorts of things that I'd put on this vision board. And anyway, in 2018, we moved house. So this vision board was from 2016, and I had packed this board up and put it into a box. And when we moved house in 2018, I was in we call it the cage downstairs at our apartment. And I was in there and I was like going through the boxes, and I pulled this out and I was like, oh, wow, gosh, I remember doing this particular vision board. Oh my God, back in like 2016. And I looked at it and I went through everything that was on there. And I had stuff that I had only dreamed about doing as a young girl, or as in, whilst I was in my corporate career, hoping that someday in the 4 weeks a year that I was given in my annual leave, that sometime I might be able to visit a bunch of places, Disneyland being one of them, the Grand Canyon, going on going to San Francisco, going to New York. I had all these different places on that particular vision board, in the hope, it was my dream board. It was like, I'm going to put these on my vision board, and I'm going to bring them to fruition through manifestation. And as we know, also by putting these things to the forefront of our mind, it also means that I set an intention, right? So I set the intention and I started to know exactly, I'm going to call it the North Star. I knew where I was going and what it was that I wanted to achieve. So that simple exercise of actually dreaming into the future about what it was that I wanted, making it very visual by putting it onto a vision board, and then being able to see that each and every day and being able to think about, yes, that's where I want to go. That's what I want to do. Now, what are the actions and who do I have to be now to bring all of those to fruition? And like I said, that happened back in 2016. And when I was downstairs in the cage and I pulled it out of the box, I'm like, oh my God, look at all. And I said to my husband, check this out. Look at this. Because at the time he used to think I was a bit woo-woo in terms of like doing all of this sort of stuff, thinking, it doesn't really work. And then he's now, as you can imagine, completely a believer in the stuff that I now do, in terms of like bringing your vision to life, putting it on a vision board, being able to see it on a daily basis, setting your intention about what it is that you want in your life, and not kind of just meandering through life hoping that everything will be okay. Be very intentional and very deliberate about what it is that you want, and what are the things that you actually are going to do in your life, and the person that you are going to be to bring those to fruition. Now, funnily enough, when I looked at all of the things that were on the vision board, I was flabbergasted, because at that time I did it thinking that would be nice, right? It would be nice if I could if I could achieve these things. It would be nice if someday I could go to, I could go to America and travel around and see all of these wonderful things. Then actually looking at that board, and this was like literally 18 months later. So that was end of 2016. 2018, we had moved into this new property. And that's when I pulled it out and I actually saw it. And I'm like, holy crap. In a really short space of time, I knocked off almost everything on that board. The only thing that was left was that we wanted to buy a jet ski, and we didn't buy the jet ski because when we moved to our apartment, we had nowhere to put it. But other than that, we still go jet skiing and we just hire them instead. So it's a very, very, very powerful. Somebody here is saying visualize to materialize. Absolutely. So one of the methods, like I said, that I've used to ensure that I am able to bring bring about the things that I want in my life is I do use that method of visualization. The other thing that a lot of people also ask me, is that all you do? Well, no, it's not, because I am a firm believer that, you can visualize and you can, you can think and think and think about what is it that I want? How do I bring that about? And you will have all heard Napoleon Hill's, heard of his book, Think and Grow Rich. And I think that there is a flaw in that message, and the fact that you can't just think about it. You actually need to take, once you've thought about it, you've brought that visualization into its reality by actually being able to see it. You then need to take action, and the actions are that you need to start thinking about, who is it do I need to be? Who do I need to become to actually have all of these things? So, for example, when I was thinking about, so I want to travel, and at that time too, traveling further than kind of my home country, so between Australia and New Zealand, without my husband was like, well, that was super scary. So one of the things that I had to be was comfortable and confident enough to be able to travel on my own. So I really worked on that. I'm going to be confident and organized enough that I'm going to be able to travel on my own. So that's part of the being. When you're creating that being piece, I often think about it as, I'm able to blah blah blah, and I can do these things, because when you're able to be all of those things, then you find that you're then able to do whatever it is that you need to do, that then comes from the being, and then you can have all the things that you desire to have because of the being and the doing. And I think when you put all of those three things together, the being, the do, and then you can have together in that order, then you start to really enable yourself to tick a lot of the things off of your list that you would like to do. And I was going to mention the other thing that I often do is, like, in part of the shows that I've been doing over the last number of months, I've been interviewing on a series called the She Myth Eliminator series. Been interviewing women from all over the world about their She Myth stories and some of the things that have held them back in the past and how they've actually overcome those. And what I noticed was that all the women who have overcome significant adversity in their life have done this particular thing. And it was that they turned inward. They got really, really quiet with themselves, and they started to listen to what their intuition was telling them to do. So often, I've mentioned this before, that chair behind me, that one over there, I will often sit on that chair and just, use that time to meditate and think about the things that I want, the visualization of the life that I'm wanting to create, the imagery that I'm creating. I'm not only creating it in its physical form, like on a vision board, but I'm also creating it over and over and over again, like a movie in your mind. And when you do that, you start to then play out all of the things that you want to bring about in your life. They start to appear. And when you do that, you're also starting to bring them to life, because you're then able to recognize the opportunities when they arise. So sometimes if you don't do this process, often opportunities come up for us, right? You have opportunities all the time. And this is something that I've also heard from my mentors, and also have experienced myself, is that you will be given kind of like these divine opportunities or ideas or concepts that come to you. And if you're not ready for them, they're going to give that idea to somebody else at the same time, because not everybody takes action. When is it that you take action? When you see an opportunity. You only see the opportunity when you've already created the vision of what it is that you want in your mind, right? You already know, okay, so I'm wanting to create X, Y, Z, and then an opportunity appears. And I'm going to give you a classic example of this. Earlier last year, so I've always wanted to write a book, was always in my mind. That's what I want to do, right? And then I had been doing some, meditation and what have you on it. It was on my vision board. And then an opportunity came up. I happened to be on Vicky Helm's show early last year. And her and I got chatting. And straight after that show, she's like, hey, that was really awesome. I think we should write a book. And she'll say to you, it was like that. And I instantly said, yes. The reason I instantly said yes was because it was on my radar. It was on my on my vision board. It was what I was wanting. And so therefore I saw that opportunity. If it wasn't in my, my sphere of dream, then I probably would have said, thank you very much, but I don't think I'm capable of writing a book. I don't think I'd be able to do that. I appreciate the opportunity, but I think I'm going to give it a miss. But I didn't. And the reason I didn't, it was because it was always been on my radar. It's always been something that I wanted to do. So my point here is that when you do this, it means that when the door opens, you know exactly which doors you are going to walk through, and it enables you to bring the things that you want in your life to fruition. So I hope that's been useful for you today. I wanted to share that with you because it always makes me smile when I go back and I actually look at that vision board, because it just reminds me of how powerful we actually are. It reminds me of, sometimes we think, that's not possible. I don't think I'll ever be able to go there. It's not possible. My grandmother said one day she would take me to Disneyland, and she never ever got to do it. Maybe I'll never ever be able to go. But then being able to bring that to fruition, put it on my board, be able to think about it in a way that manifests it and means that I can do all the right actions to bring it to fruition, now proves that this process works, and it's worked over and over and over again for me. So I wanted to share that with you because I think it's been super powerful for me. And if you haven't tried that technique yourself, or you've done it in the past and now you don't do it anymore, this is just that gentle reminder that, hey, you are very, very powerful. You are capable of doing a lot of things. Just put it on your board, bring it to the forefront of your mind, and start being the person that you need to be to bring all of that to fruition. So I'm going to leave you guys with that today. You've got a whole weekend to start dreaming about what it is that you want to bring into your life, and the process of actually creating a vision board. It's not that difficult. Get yourself a pen and paper and write things down, or get yourself a blank piece of paper and just start, posting pictures on it. Create the family of your dreams, create the partner of your dreams, start dreaming into all of that, and then start being the person that you need to. And someone here, thank you very much, is saying, yes, and she went beyond just writing the book. She's now a best-selling author. Thank you very much. And yeah, that's exactly what happened. So it's been a super exciting ride. This is a process that I use on a regular basis. And one of the other things that I also start using now is a book that the team created, because I feel that this is so important. We have incorporated the vision and the manifestation piece into a journal called the Freedom Seekers Journal, which also incorporates tapping. Vicky Helm will probably tell you a lot more about that on her some of her upcoming shows, the Coffee Break show. So just keep your eyes and ears peeled for that, because I can tell you now that is a huge productivity hack that we've created, and we use it in our team very, very successfully for every single person. And it's something that you guys can also start using. So just keep your eyes peeled and start watching, Vicky Helm's Coffee Break show, because she'll start talking about that too over the coming weeks. She'll be sharing all of her amazing hacks, because she's a super efficient and productive person. So that being said, guys, I'm going to say thank you so much for watching today. I'm going to be back again next week on Wednesday at 10 a.m. with another episode of Unlocked. Next week, I've got a guest with me. We'll be talking more about how to unlock the message inside of you. We'll be talking a lot about digital marketing and how you can create online products, and how you can also create assets and multiple streams of income. So just keep your eyes and ears peeled and tune in next week for that show. For now, thanks so much for watching. I'm going to see you guys again next week, and spend some time over the weekend. Create yourself a vision board. Go to the Success Secrets for Business, Family and Life group and post your vision boards in there. I want to see them. All right, guys, have a fantastic week, and I'll see you again next week. Bye for now.